we talked yesterday, just running through about what each side's going to be doing at this point. Is the White House making plans to try and figure out what they can do from the agency perspective? Is, McCarthy now trying to make plans at what he can actually get done if it's going to be a very tight majority and he's going to have to listen to some parts of the party that he may not have cared to do? How does this play out? What are going to be the top concerns? What will be the areas where they actually can find some agreement, either within the party or from a bipartisan perspective?
Yeah, Becky, and Gary's right. It's a jump ball. So many players on the field, none of whom have clear authority to set an overall agenda. But let's look at where we are. We have the same issues today that we had yesterday from an economic perspective. Most notably, inflation and the pain that we're going to take to tame inflation. Look, people in their households, they know now that their household, running their household, stocking their refrigerator, heating their home is costing more, and their home is actually worth less. People are going to want answers to that. The question is, all of those parties, the agencies, the Fed, Congress, are they going to get together on a plan for that, or are they going to continue to point figures? So, that's the big issue. I think there are issues where there may be bipartisan agreement. We've talked about one, China. There seems to be bipartisan support for how we deal with China and the deglobalization, the decoupling from China. Crypto is an area where there's bipartisan support, and there is a desperate need for the government to come in and regulate, as we've seen this week. Other areas, it's hard to identify them, but hopefully some bipartisan agreement around those, we can get to what I would hope is bipartisan cooperative approach to the real problem facing us, which is inflation. And it's not just for the Fed. The idea that pushing the inflation problem solely to the Fed is going to produce the best solution is ridiculous.
That may be the case, but I don't see a whole lot of room for cooperation. I mean, we just listened to Fetterman saying he wants to see the minimum wage be raised. He wants to see things like that. You're going to have populism kind of take over and suggest that if you give more from the SPR, if you cut your exports of energy, if you tell companies they can no longer raise prices on things, that's going to be the populist solution to dealing with inflation. And I think all of us would agree that that's not the way to go. Gary?
Yeah, look, I think we all agree that's not the way to go. And I think what you're going to see in the House, even with the small majority, is you're going to see something completely different. I think the House is going to probably be pretty aggressive on the Republican side of trying to return us back to where we were a couple of years ago towards energy independence. I think that the House is going to be very interested in trying to come up with legislation or trying to come up with incentives that create opportunities to drill in the United States, to frack in the United States, to not have us be as dependent on foreign imports of oil. We've got abundant natural gas here in the United States. I think the House is going to want us to use that natural gas, use it domestically, attract industry to the United States, broaden our business, broaden our tax base, and grow our economy. And I think that's going to be their number one premise. And that's how they'll see the opportunity to grow the economy. Clearly, that will meet with opposition in the other legs of the government. So we're going to have an interesting area here where, for us to get anything done of substance, it is going to have to be brokered, and it's going to be a multi-party brokered system to get any of these opportunities done. But as Jay said, I think the voters have clearly stated what they see as the problems. And in any poll you saw that inflation and the cost of products was really the number one driving factor in the vast majority of elections.
Right. And Becky, if I could jump in to your question, yes, there were candidates who very much appealed to their base, but we saw a lot of split tickets, and we saw a lot of voting, particularly at the governor level. I think for competence in government, for hope that government are going to tackle these problems in much the way that Gary said.